up, guys? Welcome to Elevate Elite, the BaseCamp podcast. My name is Donovan, your host, and today I'm going to be talking to Mr. Raymond Little, a very famous guy in the circles here on social media. How you doing, Mr. Raymond?
I'm doing great, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for spending time with me today. I'm excited to have this conversation and kind of challenge you a little bit on grind culture and that hustle mindset, as well as tapping into some of your theories in regards to social media presence and building your business from that. I believe the roofing world, especially, is going to see a lot of changes happening soon, where there's not like a whole lot of unique identifiers left in the industry, and kind of everybody's selling the same thing. And so, how do you kind of make yourself unique and build that brand presence like you have with yourself? So, welcome to the podcast, man.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
Yeah, man. So tell me a little bit more about your backstory. I know a lot of people know you. For those that don't, I know that you have quite an adverse background, and I would love to have a conversation about that, as well as ask you a couple questions in regards to like what you kind of maybe lost or feel like you've lost in those years of just establishing a $38 million business like you have, and where that hustle culture mindset shifts from like kind of a tool to more of an identity, and people can't get out of it. So tell me more
Yeah,
about your backstory.
yeah. I mean, growing up in the '80s and '90s, divorced home, like many of us that came up, born in the late '70s. Divorced home, running the streets, not a lot of structure. Both parents, I mean, great. Let me say first, they're both still alive, and I love them to death and do anything in the world from them. But they grew up in that. My dad's in the flat track, in the Hall of Fame for racing flat track Harleys. So you can kind of figure out what his mind state is, right? So pretty wild. Grew up as a power sports mechanic. 1 foot in the street, 1 foot out the streets. Grew up with mom. Dad was every other weekends. Like I said, not drinking every day. Parents kind of lived their own life. I grew up kind of by myself. Went to 9 different schools. Moved obviously 9 times, or moved probably 11 times. Uh, Never really got my feet situated. Got with the wrong crowds. End up selling marijuana. Marijuana went to selling cocaine. Cocaine went to trafficking cocaine. Then the cocaine turned into trafficking meth, and arrest here, arrest there, racketeering conviction, firearm conviction. Before I knew it, I did 149 months in prison, and I was basically 35 years old, basically a loser, about to go back to prison for a couple more years for a firearm violation. And enough was enough, bud. And I checked myself into rehab, and I knew that just getting clean days wasn't just, that wasn't going to fix it. That I had to change my whole mindset and that criminal addictive thinking and that toxic behavior with the relationships, the behaviors, the way I made money. So I had to rewire my whole self, or I was this close to being a loser the rest of my whole life at my age. So change that mindset. Just had to change. I was always a hustler. I've always made good money. That's what I tell people. On my worst day, I was still snorting a line of meth off a CD case in a 911. So that was my worst day. Even though I was morally broke, morally poor, I always had nice cars and had nice place to stay or decent place to stay or whatever. Not to glorify poor behavior, it's just disgusting. But I had to figure out where I could get out here and figure out how to make that hustle, because I hustled great, right? I'm not going, like I said, I don't want to condone poor behavior, but I mean, I made a lot of money selling drugs. I just got to figure out my worth over here in the legal side and figure out how I could hustle over here and make the same amount of money or more, which I made more.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of those guys that have a very unique background, I guess. I mean, I would say that your background's very unique in that sense. A lot of those guys that have success in that world, a lot of those guys happen to have a skill. It's not necessarily the product or the people that you're around, but there's something in your blood that you have the ability, the innate ability to talk to people, to move product, regardless of what it is. I mean, I think you said something like you guys could sell corn dogs and you would still probably do a very, very good number per year.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of times second chance people. They're wired. They're narcissistic. Narcissistic people can sell, and it's just a fact. I don't want to call them manipulators, because I think that word's worse than a narcissist, right? But you get a lot of guys that can talk and sell, and a lot of them can take care of themselves, and they're not bad looking people, and they can sell and they can persuade, and that's what they do, and they just need the direction. You find these second chance guys that are, like I said, still got all their teeth and look halfway decent, right? You can teach them to sell if they were already hustling in the streets. You just got to teach them that they were a hustler from birth. You don't really teach hustle. The hustle's within them, right? And then you just got to show them the right way to hustle. And it's easy, especially when the insurance pays for the roofs. You're just kind of teeing up it. You're not even asking for the money out of a checkbook. You're the insurance is actually paying, and all you're getting is a deductible. So it's easy sell. 1,000 for 20,000, right? So it's an easy
Yeah,
sell, and once you can do that, it's game over.
yeah, we actually talked about that a little bit earlier, where your circle of influence is very synonymous with the character development that you're looking for, right? So if you happen to be around the wrong people, your character development may end up on the wrong path, even though it's like you're making good money, you're driving nice cars, you're wearing nice stuff. The feeling that you have about that is that you're kind of gaming the system a little bit at the end of the day. So some people have a little bit of an identity issue with that, and you kind of just have to dissociate. And that's where I think a lot of people end up falling off into drugs and alcohol and what have you. That life is not easy, man. A lot of people think you're going to go move drugs and it's an easy life. It's not. You're going to have a lot of money, but like at the end of the day, like you have to look over your shoulder all the time. You have to worry about people coming and just killing you because of who you are. You don't even know who they are. All that stuff. And so when it comes to adversity, how have you been able to kind of translate from your street life to now building companies and empires and working with people and coaching with people and kind of still carrying that same adversity, that like skill of being able to overcome adversity rather. But you kind of have more of a soft life now. It's not what it used to be. So how do you still have that chip on your shoulder and still grind?
Well, I always like cars, right? So that was a driving factor. My biggest driving factor was having my son. He was born January the 12th, 2012. So
Nice.
the change had to be made then. I went into rehab June 6th, 2012. The change, so that was one driving factor. I always like nice cars. That's another driving factor. And I always like the hustle and grind, right? I was a leader in the streets and I led people to do wrong. So once I made that change, it was my obligation to God, to my higher power, to whatever people's belief system was, to get those same guys, which they're over here now with me. Most of them are. They already started their own companies, but I brought them with me. So I led them to wrong. It was my obligation once I changed my life, and it's in my heart. I led them wrong. I had them drug trafficking, driving the drugs, doing crazy stuff. It was in my heart that once I change, whoa, I got to come back and get my crew and bring them back. So that was a driving factor. And selfishly, I did it for me to buy my spot back in heaven. I felt like that in my own little wicked mind, that I had to bring them over. And like I said, I was a leader then. I want to be a leader now and lead. I led for bad and horrible before. Like I've been shot 3 times. I've been convicted of racketeering. I've been convicted of horrible crimes. Now I got to lead for good. So there's no gray area. I'm an extremist. I was extremely bad, and now I will be extremely good.
Hmm.
So that was really my driving factor. And I like to be paid for my worth. And that's what roofing is. You get paid, my guys, there's no draws. There was never no draws. There was never no base pay. We only eat what we kill mentality. So and it's the same thing in drug trafficking. There's no base pay and just sitting there with your pound of whatever and sitting there waiting for somebody to come. You don't get an hourly pay. You're only gonna get paid on what you sell, bro. So when you take that over to roofing, that's where the magic's at, right? So that's why you can grab those people that are used to that pay and bring them over to roofing, and they're still killers. Not kill, you know what I mean? Like, like,
Yeah,
like they're gonna kill it themselves, not
good at their job.
good at their job. There you go.
Yeah,
That's
man,
funny
that's
right there.
that's
Yeah.
that's a very unique perspective. Just because a lot of people they don't want to hire those people. They see them kind of as like just I don't want to say scum of the earth, but almost like that's the way that they're
Well, they are.
seen.
And I'm
Yeah.
scum of I was scum of the earth too. I was the dread of society. I ruined my community. I was a horrible person. But we have once you can take somebody that can deal with the hard cases and you bring them over, second chance people will grind so hard for you once you show them a way and show them they can get out of the streets. Those are the best people. Once
Yep.
they make that decision to change, not just get clean, not clean's just 10% of it. The other 9% is that change that mindset, that criminal addictive thinking, and get them out of those toxic behaviors, toxic habits, toxic relationships, and show them the right way all the way. Those people will be more loyal to you than anybody on the earth.
So that's a great point though. But how do you get somebody to not utilize that hustle grind culture mindset as so much of as an identity, but like using it as a tool that way you can still enjoy your life. Like you don't need to go after you have $100 million.
You talking about like now, like how you keep that grind? How do you keep that?
I would say like how do you transition from needing to produce, which is like the identity that a lot of people have when it comes to hustle grind culture. You have like this innate desire inside of you where it's like almost like an uncomfortableness. Like you need to go and do something. You can't just sit around. You can't just enjoy vacation. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
how do
yeah.
you
I
how do you
can't.
turn
I
that
can't.
off?
yeah, that, when you find that person, let them know, because even when I got my paycheck, I still kept going, and I can't
Yeah.
sit. I think it's to do with my sobriety and to do with my self worth, and maybe to do where I came from. That if man, I'm telling you, if I don't get up, even to this day, I haven't climbed a roof since July 2024. I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like the worst piece of crap every day. If I'm not out there working 12 hours a day with my team, climbing until dark, getting home at 10 o'clock at night, still going to the gym, still training on my bike or doing whatever. And that was the void. And it was so crazy because of private equity. They're phenomenal. The team I have. He said, Raymond, I've already spent so much time with you. What are you going to do when we send you to the house? I said, no, I'll be fine. I got plenty of money. They were right. I wasn't fine, bro. I wasn't fine. I was mentally ill because changing these guys' life became my purpose. I've been had $1 million in my account probably since I don't know, probably 2020. But as long as I could buy the newest mountain bike or put diesel in my truck, I really didn't watch my finances. So I live pretty humble. Even though people see some of my cars now, it's still humble for me. But dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I got addicted to changing people's life, to watching me take this convicted felon sales guy that didn't know anything, that know a trade or anything, and he had this little girlfriend, and they were struggling paying their apartment rent. And I changed their life so much that I watched them get married. I watched a girlfriend stop her job being a waitress, become a wife, become a mother, buy their first house, him buy that new truck, him buy that first investment property. I came addicted to that. It had nothing to do with roofing.
Mm,
So now I had to find that void to answer your question. Now I took a
yeah.
long way from A to B, but now I had to find that void, and now I'm in the technology side with building SVG, and I still got to have a purpose. Men are built to create and protect and build every day. That's our purpose. We're wired to build and create and protect every day. We lose that
Mm.
purpose, we lose ourselves, and then we go into addiction and start self medicating.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have recently watched that interview with Alex Ramosi and Tony Robbins, and that was one of the questions he really had for himself at the end of the day was how do I get away from my purpose and how do I start enjoying my life? And I think you nailed that on the head is like your desire within seeing that perspective, that change within others, that becomes the addiction. That's the dopamine. That's the new fulfillment where it's like, I don't build to help others achieve what it is that I'm looking for, right? I help others build to achieve what it is that I already have. But now, how do I get them to build for purpose and fulfillment? And that's what I don't think a lot of people understand. It's like, how do you get that
Yeah,
fulfillment? It's like just production at the end of the day. It's just numbers.
yeah, I did it, and I realized their success fueled my itch and fueled my thing. And I wanted it. Sometimes I wanted it more in them.
Mhm.
And I was being selfish. I was being selfish with it, but I had to have them being successful and building them to itch my own itch. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't even that
Uh-huh.
I was being selfish, bro. It wasn't even them for them anymore. It's for me. To create and change them was an addiction for me. That was my new addiction, was changing people's lives. And that's why I
Yep.
think I was so successful in probably 9 years, and past everybody that's been doing it 20 or 30 years.
Not
Uh,
only that, but I would also say that I can see it in your eyes and the way that you speak about it. It's fulfilling to you. It's not this thing that's a fugazi where a lot of people are life coaches or gurus or what have you. It's like you don't even necessarily want to be that, but
no,
you are kind of that. You are like changing people's lives and showing them salvation to some degree, even in a non-religious way. Like you're
yeah,
you're
I'm
showing them how to
selfish.
actually save
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah, and I'm being selfish because it fuels me. I'm not even doing it for. I'm doing it for them, but I'm saying
Right.
at the end of the day, I'm doing it to give my own self purpose. So I'm
Correct.
being selfish. I'm like you see what I'm saying. I'm actually being selfish about it. I got to have that though to fill my own void, maybe from my past, maybe from my childhood, whatever it is. I'll find it eventually. Maybe I'll talk to somebody that's really smart. They'll tell me why I do it. But I have to have it every day, bro. I have to create and I have to change people, or I get depressed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
So
think that a lot of that definitely comes from the identity shockers that we talk about. I've actually talked about this in probably the last 5 or 6 episodes now. But these identity shockers that we're going to experience here soon with AI, AGI, and robotics, a lot of people aren't going to have a job anymore. And that's like the primary one thing that people identify with is what do they do with work? What do they do with their career? What do they do with their purpose? A lot of people, they don't necessarily chase the paycheck. They chase the actual thing that they do for a job. It's like today we're coding. I enjoy coding. I love coding. That's all I want to do. I don't really care what the paycheck is at the end of the day because I know it's good enough. They're making 10, 20, 30 grand a month. And that's good enough. That's awesome. That's great income. And you get to show up and have that purpose. But then if that purpose gets taken from you, that identity shocker becomes prevalent. And you don't know how to like identify with something different other than the thing that you've always identified with, because that's your identity. So how do you shift those identities like you were talking about earlier with people that are drug addicted or homeless or what have you? They don't necessarily always want to make the change. You have to kind of want that more for them.
Yeah, and then at some realization when our effort is not being matched, we got to realize that there is bad apples out there, and not to say nothing bad about people, but we're going to need people dropping those fries. We're going to need people flipping those hamburgers. We're going to need the. I at one point I wanted to be a sanitation worker, so I'm not talking trash, but somebody's got to pick up the trash. I was a janitor before I was in roofing. I was a janitor for about 18 months before I was a roofer. You know, I cleaned the floors, I cleaned the toilets, I swept, I mopped, I stocked stuff or whatever, you know, a hybrid janitor. So we got to have those people. So everybody's not wired the same. If we can't have a world full of, you know, just, you know, people that want to make millions of dollars, we got to realize that we have to cut it off eventually when they're not matching our effort.
Mm.
I can't want it more than them. I can turn that person into that person. But sometimes, bro, working at the Amazon warehouse is just going to be enough. And we can't get stuck on that person because then we start giving away our peace. Remember, we'll trade our time for money, but we're not going to trade our peace for anything. So when we start wanting it more than them, it starts affecting me. I got to let that person go.
How do you know those identifiers? What are you looking for? I mean, obviously effort, but you know, time
Yep.
spent.
Yep. So the willingness to quit drinking, which we have the huge alcohol problem in the United States. 60% of people drink at least one drink a day. So that takes 60% of the people out of my thing because I won't do it. Selfishly, I didn't hire anybody that drank alcohol. If they weren't willing to quit, they can't be in my truck because I don't want to smell it. Because I can smell it like a bird dog. I haven't drank since June 6, 2012. So the willingness to quit drinking, the willingness to, you know, work on yourself physically, you know, also with the mentally, because they go hand in hand. A lot of times, if you got off your depression medication and went and ran or went and walked every day or went to the gym, that fixes that. You don't need medication. So they got to be the willingness to learn, the willingness to quit drinking drugs or alcohol, right? The willingness to personally develop their own self and start walking, running, gym, or something, and the willingness to have the, you know, to put everything else aside, even if you have a young kid or anything, at least for about a year to 3 years. You know, and people beat me over the head with that. But if you want to change, you're going to have to. You got to change everything to change everything. So the willingness to be a little bit selfish with their time, so they can learn a new trade and put in the work to build that pipeline. So by the time we get through all those, bro, we're down to about 10%.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think in one of the podcasts that I watched with you and another guy, you had mentioned that you kind of have to skip a lot of that stuff that you really wanted to go to just to be able to make sure that you have that time available. You're not always going to have the ability to go to all the soccer practices. You're not always going to have the ability to show up to all the birthdays or the I think you said the baby shower. That made me laugh because guys just showing up to baby showers is funny to me. But yeah, I mean, as far as that is concerned, how do you handle the emotions of that? Where like a lot of people just aren't willing to sacrifice that. Is that one of those things that's just like a hard
Yeah,
stop?
that's just a hard stop, especially for the second chance guys. Look, if you think you're going to go down there, even if you're in mom's, the prison's a prison, right? So it's not always a state or federal institution. You could be in mom or dad's basement, and that's your prison. We could be in the Georgia State Prison. We can be in Florida State Prison. We can be wherever, right? There's still a prison. But if you think that you're going to lay on your back until the mid 30s, whether it be because mom and dad paid for it, whether it be because you got a felony, whether it be because you were, you know, digging through trash cans, right? If you're not going to have the same opportunities to catch back up as the person that's been out here doing right ever since elementary school. They went to middle school, they went to high school, they went to college, or they didn't even go to college. They went and got a, you know, great blue collar job right out of it. You know, we're not going to have the same leisures as somebody that's been doing right the first 35 years. If the first 35 years of life we were, you know, messing off, we're not going to be able to. It's not going to take 40 hours to catch up, buddy. We're going to have to. We're going to have this. We're going to have to be working while other people are coasting. So we're not going to have that. So you got to realize that you did lay down when that person was getting up at 4:30, 15 years before you and going to work. We don't have that same leisure. So these second chance people, you got to put everything down for 12, 36 months to catch back up because you chose to do wrong 15 years out of high school. Where this person's already put the work in, you don't get those same luxuries and pleasures of going. You might not be little Johnny's, first base assistant coach for little league, 7 year old you little league, because you know why? Because you chose to do wrong. You don't get, you don't skip the work that other people do just because they get to take off. They've already built the rapport.
Yeah, I think somebody mentioned that a lot of what you do with your actions, the choices that you make, have repercussions, obviously. And so those repercussions, you don't really know what they are in the time when you're making those decisions, whether it be good or bad. You're going to have some kind of sacrifice, some kind of repercussion to that choice and that decision, and then you have to get to handle that repercussion. You get to handle that outcome of the decision.
And the people that make the change are willing to set that they did make the mistake in the past and they got to pay for it now. The ones that'll never learn are the ones that won't take that sacrifice to catch back up with the rest of society. You can catch back up the rest of society in roofing sales in 3 years, but you're going to have to be selfish those 3 years and put up healthy boundaries with the wife or the husband, whatever it might be. You're going to have to put up the hell and say, hey, listen, we got to recognize that we got behind on decisions that I made in my past or we made together that I got behind. I got to put my head down and get caught back up. And are you with me? Saying this to your partner and, and explaining, hey, listen, I'm going to be at the game on Friday afternoon. I'm going to be at the game on Saturday or Sunday, but dad or mom has got to go out here and grind it back out so we can have the certain things that you're going to need when you get a little bit older in your teen years or, when you go to college, that I can be able to afford this. It's full transparency and it's a family unit together. I don't include kids in my adult conversations, but like I said, if they start asking questions, you got to be upfront with them because the kids that people are creating nowadays, I mean, they're soft because they just, they mom and dad are at every practice, mom and dad are at everything, that's kind of rare, but I mean, that's a lot of that's going on down there. It's the same people that text me at, on Saturday, hey, can I borrow $5,000? Well, damn, buddy, I missed everything with my kid. I see you at every football practice during the week, but I can't give you $5,000. I've missed all that, so I could have that extra $5,000. You see what I'm saying? They want it's just a double-edged sword. But like I said, this is for second chance. People are going to have to really put it all up, or maybe people that were in a comfortable situation, they're going to, if they want to get in commission sales and learn a new trade, in their 30s or 40s. I mean, you're going to put your head down, bud, and that's it. Or legit. I hate when people tell people, especially when they're about 35, 38 years old, or 42, 43, 40. Keep telling them people, hey, man, it's going to be okay. Bro, I'm going to be honest with you. It might not be okay. Quit telling people it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Gary Vee talks about that often. He's like, you're 35, you're 40, you're still a baby. And it's like, I get where you're coming from, but like, not really.
Yeah.
You're not a
No.
baby, bro. Like you are in the
Mm-mm.
sense of like, you'll probably live to 120, but we need to get on
Yeah.
the horse eventually.
Yeah. They got people signing up for that program at 44. That's why he did his market research.
Of
And,
course.
and so that, I mean, that's a
Yeah, yeah,
scale
yeah.
scheme. But out here in the real world where, it costs about $150,000 a year just to go to the grocery store, that
Mhm.
it might not be okay. And if you're in an hourly job or you're talking about AI, if you're in a cubicle right now thinking that you're not going to get replaced, you're probably going to get replaced in a cubicle. You need
100%.
you need to be in home services where you're either climbing on the roof, you're knocking the door, you're going in there measuring those floors, you're having personal interactions, you're selling, you're on commission, you're safe. You're safe. But I'm just being honest with you. If you're in a cubicle or you're in a desk doing data entry, just like you said earlier, you are on the way out in the next probably 24 to 36 months for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like sales isn't going to get oversaturated with good sales reps. You're going to get oversaturated with people that
Somebody's got to
think
do
they
the
can do
work,
it.
brother. Yeah, that CRM
Yeah.
might be AI, and that supplement might be AI, and that COC might be AI. But I'm promise you this: that sales position, that human interaction, that's never going to get replaced. That
Yeah.
CRM, if you're on the backside of that CRM, you're not the one putting in the pictures from the top of the roof or at the walking around the customer's house, and you're on the backside of that CRM, you are going to get replaced. I promise you
Yep.
that. Roofing's cutthroat. These roofing owners, as soon as they can figure out how to get rid of Sally and Susie and Miss Smith that's been with you 8 or 9 years, they're gonna get rid of you.
Unfortunately, and that's just
Yeah,
part of doing business, man. You got to open up
yeah, it is.
margin. That's
Yeah,
what businesses do. They got to scale over time.
that's it, bub.
Yeah. The one of the things that you had mentioned is that it takes time to actually make those changes. And one of the perspectives I'd like to share, just from a health perspective, is if you happen to smoke for about 10 years, it takes you at least 5 to 10 years to get your lungs to get back to almost a base level, which may not be 100%. That's just a base level of health. You still may have some long-term issues due to your 10, 15 years or 20, 25 years of smoking. And so naturally, your lungs are just not going to be what they once were. Same thing with your liver, same thing with your kidneys. Your body's very resilient. But at the end of the day, like it takes time to make that change and get back to that baseline. And so a lot of people, yeah, you mentioned don't want to put in that time. Most people go out of business in the first year, after that, the first 2 years, and then after that, the first 5 years. And so like it happens very quick with like 98% of people that just wash out naturally. When it comes to those people and you feel like they're really in there, they're putting in time, they're putting in the effort, they're wanting to go to the gym and they do, and they're getting their health back, and then they just get around the wrong people and fall down that slippery slope like most addicts do. How do you cut them off completely? Do you try to have a conversation with them first? Do you try to pull them back?
When personally, when I was hiring and hiring and running the sales team and everything, obviously I'm just a stockholder now, sitting at the house doing this podcast with you. No, we talk about that. I only would take two new people on at a time, and I'm instilling that with them day one. Like I'm giving those two. I'm like when we go to the first roof for the day, I'm giving that one to the guy in the front seat. Second roof's going to that guy. Third roof's going to the. So I do the first 10 roofs with them the whole time that I'm doing that with them, and I'm going over the scope of work at night on the phone and everything. I'm reiterating, hey, bro, it's all you got to change the playgrounds. You got to change this. You got to change this. And I watch their Facebook. If you're at the lake and you're 16 days clean from drinking, you don't need to go to the lake and be around that drinking, right? You don't need to be at maybe even like me you're talking about, maybe even at that baby shower where they're serving alcohol. Like you got to change. I tell everybody you need to be a lead generation marketing company, personal development company that happens to do roofs. And the leader, the owner, the manager needs to be instilling that greatness in all these guys from day one as far as the personal development. Nobody, there's not
Mm,
going to be a little bitty, chubby, little bitty, little weak, little BN guy, an owner, right? That's running a bunch of $3-4 million jack, salespeople. It's just not
right.
going to work that way. They're going to go be like the owner. He's setting the standard. That little bitty guy that's the boss. He's a boss. He's not a leader, and he's pointing these fingers. He's not going to have a bunch of killers up under him, dude, because he's not setting that standard. It's the same way. I had 60 something guys. Two of them drank. Two of them drank, and the reason those two drank because I love them to death, and they've been with me since 8th grade, and I let them drink. Now one of them don't drink, and the other one quit, and he just started back. But that's what I'm telling you. That's how I ran it because all those other ones I personally developed them myself, and everybody there now is either been trained by somebody I trained or I trained personally myself. So the culture continues. You don't have a look. You don't have. There's no companies. There's companies out there. Those are ran by bosses. Then there's cultures that provide a home service product, right? So
Mhm.
our company, Perimeter Roofing, at that point in time before I sold it, and it still is this way to this day. It's not a company; it's a culture that does roofs, and that's how we do it. And we reproduce. We find the winners, and we duplicate winning. We're a winning factory. It's like a little bunch of little bodies, the winners on the assembly line, and we're punching them out. We're punching them out. It don't matter. You can take them, and they could go sell anything. Like you said, they go sell peepholes. They go sell floors. They can go sell sheetrock. They can go sell windows. Those guys can do anything because we personally developed the person, but we happen to do roofs too.
So how do you see that changing with all of the insurance world and the retail world now inside of roofing? Just if I can pick your brain a little bit about that. Insurance isn't going to be those things that people can kind of lean on for hustle, where you're making it to the door first before anybody else, and now you get the deal. You now have to sell the financing. You have to sell the roof. So how's that going to change in
So,
the world?
so I always say retail's for lazy, and if people knock my head off, so I'm gonna knock the door. I'm gonna inspect the roof. It really, if it's not worn out, so if it's worn out, why is it worn out? This is if it's wore out, why is it wore out? From indirect or direct physical loss, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the insurance owes for it, so they don't even need a roof. The insurance policies read they owe for indirect or direct physical loss of the roof. So if it's wore out, they owe for it. That's what private equity knows. A wore out roof in that policy, technically, the policy owes for it. It owes for indirect or direct physical loss. So we go up there, we identify if they need a new roof. Not only do we got to sell that, we already sold them once at the door knock to get on the roof. We got to come down, sell them again, and say, hey, we're the guys for you to get it approved. They call it in, so we sold them twice. The adjuster comes out here, or the ladder assist comes out here. If it's a ladder assist, we got to sell the ladder assist on the damage that we're seeing, so that's 3 times. Then we get a partial, right? We get a partial replacement. They bought 5 singles. Then we got to sell the adjuster. That's 4 times. Then when they come down, then when they come down, right? They come down, or we're going to buy the roof. They send the scope. The homeowner gets the scope. We got to sell them that they put us on the email to get the scope. So we sell them 5 times. Then by the time we got to get to the dinner table, we got to sell them again, right? So we got to do insurance process is 6 times.
Wow.
Retail, right? Because you're selling the whole process. Nobody looks at it like that. So we got a salesperson that sells 6 times. Hey, retail, order the Eagle View, shoot them the price. You can upsell them on your brand, blah, 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 blah. 2 sales. So if you sell the insurance process at 6 sales, insurance retail's easy. A lot of times these retail markets are somebody got a partial, we come in, we underbid somebody. I'm not a big retail guy. You know, my platform that I sold out, it's all insurance based. It's 90% insurance based. Well, about 80% insurance based and 20% commercial, which is insurance based too.
What if a
Uh,
homeowner doesn't have the deductible, like the recent deductible changes in like Colorado, for example?
like you said, you got to sell in finance, and so then it's 7 sales.
So then you do pivot to the retail side.
Yeah, I'll pivot to the resale side if we just get stonewalled out. We'll go a public adjuster or anything. But I don't try to sell a retail roof unless it has storm damage because I don't, in my opinion, this is my opinion, when people can hammer me, they don't need one.
Right, of course.
And then if it's
And
wore out, I know that the policy owes for it. Why is it wore out? Why is it wore out? It's wore out from indirect or direct physical loss. And they'll say, hey, this looks like wear and tear. I said, cool, you've already admitted that you owe for the roof. That's what I tell the adjuster. Because I don't know what Miss Smith's policy reads, but my policy reads that it's you owe for indirect or physical loss. So let's identify the loss here.
mm,
So are you going to snail mail the check or are you going to sell it?
nice. So yeah, I guess that is a great way to kind of approach it, but it is obviously a lot longer of a process for these guys that are wanting to switch to retail. I think a lot of them are just nervous about asking for that 5 to 10 grand with the deductible,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yep.
that becomes a problem in retail in its own sense. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're nervous about asking for 5 to 10, you're going to ask for 60. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never got that. Maybe I didn't develop into that. I'll be insurance the day I die because one thing I know, the person that wants you to get that roof more isn't the insurance company or the homeowner. The mortgage company owns that home, and that's who's going to hold the feet to the fire of these insurance companies when it gets real bad.
Mm,
You got to think most people don't own their home, right?
right.
I
The
mean,
mortgage company does.
they own their home. They're making payments,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the insurance is insuring it, but they're not insuring it for the homeowner. They're insuring, not technically, really, they're insuring it to the bank, which is a mortgage company that wants you to get the new roof on it. So
Correct.
we're just pushing it all the way until then. And when it gets too crazy and these homes start really getting messed up from these roofs, the mortgage company is going to hold the feet to the insurance company before it's all said and done.
Right,
But
right.
that's who has the most vested interest is
Yeah,
the mortgage company.
that's an interesting future to look into, really. If you think about like mortgage companies standing up for homeowners, that would be a fascinating future.
And that's what I tell everybody when we knock the door. Look, they say, well, I don't need one. Well, what does your mortgage company think about the property? You protecting the property.
Mm,
So we're here to educate, not sell. So I
yeah.
educate people about I'm not pushy. I don't care. I'm not getting you signed a contingency. I'll knock the door and like I said, I'm going to give you the facts. I'm going to keep going. It doesn't matter. I'm here to educate you. You'll call me back. I promise you that because you're not going to come up. Anything that they come, I'm going to ever reject it.
What are the things that you kind of teach these guys out in the field as far as like to have success right away in that 3 year period? How many doors are we hitting 5 days, six
I
days a
mean,
week?
really, I'll tell you this: if you're asking about draws, you better be knocking 7 days a week. If you're even
Right
asking for them, because you're probably not going to get one anyway.
on. Yeah,
But I will throw a dog a bone that's out there knocking 7 days a week, right?
that's awesome.
But it's education. It's education. We're educating the homeowners to make the right decision to best, their biggest investment. We're just educating them on the rights that they have, and it's not sales. Don't push the sell. Educate the homeowner. You'll get more. Traction with that. Treat it like a job and not a hustle. If you truly are, I mean, let's be real. I mean, you've been out here doing that. I mean, you've been Facebook friends for years and years. You've been roofing for years and years. How many hours are people really out here knocking before they get discouraged? Right. Let's be.
If they do it
Look,
two to
let's.
four,
All right. Let's be real. Treat it like a job and not a hustle. You're gonna go to the
yeah.
Amazon workhouse. Or you're gonna go to the Amazon warehouse and gonna pull a 60-hour work week. You pull a 60-hour work week in roofing, you're gonna be a damn millionaire.
I
Let's
don't know
be,
why people don't make that correlation though.
bro.
Why does
No,
that
it's
not
not the.
register?
What? Well, hold on, hold on. Now let's stop right there because you're right. You just said the magic word. This might be the podcast of the year. It's not that people they don't have a leader that's out there 10 hours a day.
Ah,
Where's the owner at? He's at little Johnny's baseball game at 4 o'clock. God dang, buddy. Hey, it's not getting dark at 8 o'clock, bud. You need to be out here leading from the front. Mama can take him to the baseball game. We're trying to retire.
yeah.
It don't get
God,
dark.
that's the truth, bro.
Bro, you're over here knocking in a working class neighborhood till 3 o'clock and you're heading to baseball. Bro, everybody that can pay their deductibles at work. You need to be knocking from 4 to 8, from
Yeah,
12 to 8 o'clock. That's your 8 hours, bud. Not 9 to 5. 9 to 5, our client ain't even at home. Where's our
yeah.
client at from 9 to 5? They're at work, bud, trying to pay that deductible you're going to be asking for at the dinner table here at the
Yeah,
adjuster meeting. Bud, you got to work from 4 to 8 is your most important hours. But if you want to treat it like a real job, knock from 12 to 8 when the time changes. And guess what? When that time changes and it's getting dark at 4 o'clock and everybody's still at work, guess what you're going to have to do now? You're going to put your big boy pants on and talk to the wife and talk to little Johnny. And you're going to have to knock on the weekends now because nobody's home where you can climb during the weekdays. It's not rocket science.
yeah. Yeah, it's a hard conversation to have with the wife, man, especially if
Yeah,
she doesn't
well,
understand the future. She doesn't have a
what?
vision, right?
Yeah, well, that's we can get deep into this. I mean, you can go for 4 hours on this.
Yeah, no,
Hold on.
I don't
Are
want
you
to take
do?
too much of your time.
Yeah, no. Look, if you're doing your job as a man at home, it's not a hard conversation because the man
Uh-huh.
leads from the front and leads at the house. It's
Yep.
God, it's God, man, woman, child, and that's the order it goes on. And if you're providing the right way, that's the easy conversation. My wife just pulled out of here since we've been on this call in a $375,000 G wagon. When I tell her I got to work on Saturday and Sunday, and she's swiping that American Express card, and she's stable, and she knows that it's God, man, woman, child. She follows that commandment, and that's what she does. You see what I'm saying?
Mm,
Because I got to work on Saturday and Sunday, but when she flies out first class tomorrow morning to go meet her relatives, I'm providing at the highest level, so I don't have pushback because
What
I'm
about if
leading
it's
from the front.
what about if it's not financial pushback that she has, but more so like time, emotion stuff, emotional. You're not being present with me. You're on your phone all the time. You're this, you're that, you're whatever.
And then you're still failing as a man because at some point in time, you got to have intentional time for your wife, right? So you map out that time, you sit there and have an adult conversation with her when y'all aren't mad, when she's
Mm,
not already in an emotional state. You sit there and say, hey, when everything's all good, that's when you have that conversation. Hey, listen, the time's changed now, babe. So let's figure out our intentional times and have a mature conversation that's not why she's already mad at you. Have it
yep.
before she gets mad at you. Maybe look at the calendar and prepare that time's going to change and this is your first year of being a sales manager. Have the adult conversation in a good time and say, hey, look, here's what we're going to do. But guess what? On Tuesday and Wednesday, because I'm going to work Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to pull back my schedule and we're going to spend intentional time with each other on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yep. And
You see what I'm saying?
you better make those Tuesdays and Wednesdays too.
And you better make it and be the man that you say you are because, right, it's God, man, woman, child. So have those adult conversations when it's not heated. Now, don't try to convince her of that because you done missed the first 2 weekends. You done told her on Friday night that you're going to have to go work on Saturday. That's your fault then.
Yeah.
It's always, look, dealing with their wives is always your fault. But figure out and get ahead of it, right? So you can say, hey, listen, I'm the sales manager this year and we're getting an override and explain and make them part of the process. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? Now she's out there having to bust her ass too to pay the bills, then maybe you need to pick it up a little bit because I know when they're staying at home and being able to go to the gym and being involved in the kids during the day, they're a little bit more lenient. But if I'm putting her in a masculine role, if I'm already putting her in a masculine role because I need her paycheck to pay half the mortgage, that's going to happen. Yeah, you're right. That's going to be a hard conversation to have because you're not producing and you're gone all the time.
Yep.
So that's
And
all.
the money's not coming in as fast as she wishes it was.
Right, and that's you failed somewhere as a man because, like I
Yeah.
said, if I got to tell her I got to go to Texas and work for 3 weeks, my wife only blink an eye. She starts packing my bag because I've
Mhm.
already provided at the highest level and I've already set those healthy boundaries up as the man and had those adult conversations with her.
Yeah, I know that was tough in solar because a lot of people would have those adult conversations and then show up to like a solar blitz and then just walk away with zero just because they didn't have leadership.
Yeah, I mean, you got to lead from the front. And then also, they know that 60, 70 other guys and girls are depending on me to pay their bills. But like I said, I've always put up big numbers. I've always been, even when I was in the streets, I always was the provider. My significant other, stayed at home then and stays, and obviously stays at home now. It's
Yeah.
different significant others, obviously. I provide at a high level, so the conversations are different. But if you're doing what you're supposed to do as a man in every box, if you're being the provider, you're keeping your body situated, you're keeping the finances situation, you're keeping their faith strong, and you got them in church or at the mosque or whatever religion, because they all lead to the same place, and you're checking all these boxes. That conversation is easy conversation. But if you're just trying to have that conversation and you're over here and your finances aren't all right, and you're sloppy and not put together, and your kids are in disarray and talking back and everything, yeah, dude, she's going to push back. And I need her paycheck to pay half the mortgage or half the groceries. Yeah, dude, that's going to have a hard. Yeah, you're going to have to build that trust back in her,
Yeah, step by step, man.
step by
So
step, brother.
for my own personal question here, when it came to you exiting your company, what was that first like thought that you had? Was it like excitement, or was it like, oh no, now I got to pivot, or like how did you think about that when they did
Yes.
offer you your money?
When they offered the money, it was cool, but then it was a 14-month due diligence period because we are the platform, like we are the company to start with before they start buying the other ones. So
Okay.
so it was a long process for me, man. I mean, when you're thinking about it, you're like, God dang, dude, that's a lot of money, right? They're gonna wire me how much? 8 figures, this and that, and everything, and then that kind of sets in. Then you're working hard to keep the numbers high, and let's just say you're going through and they keep like pushing the closing back, like it's gonna be next week, it's gonna be next week, and then you're sitting there, you're like, holy crap, it's coming today. So I was on the phone. It's cool because I was on the phone with one of my guys on speakerphone. I seen the deposit. I knew they were closing. Everybody's on the call. I was still running the sales team, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. The money came through and it went through like a check. You see what I'm saying? And I seen it on top of my screen. I tried to screenshot it. I think I got it still. And I seen it, and it was cool for about 5 minutes. But then you think, man, there's a multiplier, right? So, bro, it was cool. Like that night, I ordered a Lamborghini. The next day, I bought my house in Florida, right? I sent my wife down there to close because I knew it was all coming, right? I've been carrying my 85-year-old, back then it was like 83-year-old dad. We've been looking at Lamborghinis and stuff on the weekends, spending time together. And I was like, yeah, I blew, like, I had $1 million in my regular checking account or just regular account. And I was like, I'm going to blow that to get all this new money, right? So I bought my house, I bought the Lamborghini, and then it's back to work, bro, because they hang on that other little carrot on you. That second check is bigger because it multiplies up to 15 times. So it's right back to work. So I haven't even got my big check yet. I got I got 70% cash up front, but that 30% it multiplies up to 15 times. So that's another 8 figures, and it should be high. If we do right. So yeah, it's like 5 minutes, and then the hustler kicks in, and you want to chase that bigger carrot because that was chump change. They wired you. So
Jeez.
yeah, so it's a surreal moment. But I mean, I was making 7 figures a year anyways before. So it was a cool, bro. It was, for somebody who can't read and write, has been in prison, bro. It was an amazing moment, and it
Why
wasn't
why did
a
why did why did you take the check? Not to interrupt you, but why, if you're already making 1 million a year, whatever the case may be, like why did you take the check?
because I was 30. Well, let's just say I was 40. I was 43 years old. I can only read and write, right? I can barely read and write. I didn't want to compete with the next person that was going to get the check. I didn't want to compete against them, and it was the best thing for my family at the time. Just the stability, to know that I can go to the gym and ride my bike and run and go to the grocery store the rest of my life, and not have to do nothing else. Just for the stability, and then
Did it did
also,
it did it feel like you were also at a complete level? Like you kind of completed it
no,
and you're ready to move on to the next thing?
no, I'll never feel complete. Right? I have imposter syndrome. Like I'll be
Mm.
sitting in one of my cars and I'll be like, man, I don't even deserve this shit. You see what I'm saying? Or I wake up today,
Yeah.
like I had a little coaching call with a flooring company before I got on the phone with you. When my friend owns a flooring company, but before that, buddy, I got to sit in my bed and drink 2 cups of black coffee and scroll and stuff. And I sit there and I'm like, man, I don't even deserve this. I don't even deserve this. So you never feel complete.
Mm.
It's the hunter in you, bud. I'm wired like a caveman. I got to hunt every day. I mean, I'm real in touch with that caveman side. That's why I got in so much trouble. Like I'm barbaric, bro. Like I mean, like I got to hunt every day, even if even if it's selling my shoes, right? I'm making $28 a pair. I want to sell 10 pair today. You always got to hunt and create, and it's the man in you. I thought it would, though. You're right. I thought it would make me feel complete. It didn't make me. It took something from me. That's
I love
crazy.
that.
They
I love that
wired.
your
Yeah,
I
they
love that your
wired me.
PE was like, "How are you gonna do when you're at the house?" And you're like, "Oh, it's gonna be awesome."
Yeah, no. Look, they wired me the money that took a piece of me with them.
Yeah.
You
Well,
see what I'm saying?
that
It was
your business,
it incompleted me.
yeah, your business is usually an extension of who you are identity wise, right? Like we talked about earlier. And so when they buy you, they're buying a piece of you.
That's what they told me, and I didn't
Yeah.
believe them. I thought they were lying to me.
Yeah,
It's
man.
that's the that's the meth days in me and the toxic behavior. I thought they were trying to trick me or something. I didn't know. He's like, Raymond, I'm telling you, you're going to have a really hard time. And they're really great guys too. By the way, I mean, my people sit there and say, I love private equity. My guys now that were up under me are running the whole show now.
Yeah.
So they got the opportunity. I mean, unselfishly, right? I had to sell so they would get the shine that they need.
Yeah. Shout out to Strong House and Omni Exteriors as well. If you guys are watching this, man, I'm watching y'all.
Yeah, they're all that's an awesome group over there. Kurt, Tony, and all them. I mean, I've looked up to Kurt.
Yeah.
I mean, Kurt is who I. So just since you brought him up, Kurt, he held the bar right here. I seen him speak. I think in Arizona or New Orleans at Win the Storm. Him and Ryan Stewman speak, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Since that day, I've been trying to chase everything that man has.
Yeah,
And
man. Kurt's
He
awesome.
helped. He's a phenomenal individual.
Yeah, he's a genius when it comes to business and even better when it comes to people, man. I don't know
Yep.
anybody that has that synergy,
Mm-mm.
when it comes to those two things.
He held the bar right here, and I've been chasing it every since then. Like he sets the standard for Raymond Little's life. I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah, shout out to Tony as well. Tony and his brother,
Oh,
man.
Tony, yeah,
Those
yeah,
are
oh yeah, yeah, phenomenal,
grinders.
yeah, phenomenal individuals. I sent him messages and actually got Kurt's number so I can text him, but I won't even pull that one out unless I really need something. But he's been an inspiration for me to be an immigrant to come over here to ride a bicycle. I was a felon riding a bicycle, and he was an immigrant riding a bicycle. So we both have our stories. But like I said, he set the bar so high, and bro, just a phenomenal individual.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story with me. I definitely am excited to have another conversation with you that's not over Zoom. I intend to actually go around and start meeting you guys as well. But I
Yep.
definitely appreciate you sharing your time with me, man. I definitely wanted to try to challenge you more on the grind and hustle mindset, and I think I will next time. But this one was a very good
Yeah, yeah, you ain't
conversation.
gonna catch. Yeah, you ain't gonna catch me slipping. I know that's the goal. I live it, breathe it. Like I wish I could go out there right now, and knock doors right now, and climb with my team, but it's just not in the cards for me anymore.
Yeah, no, your energy is very contagious, man. I definitely could tell that a lot of these guys who you can start getting around them and the energy that they have is really one of the successful things about them. Is like it's hard to have that energy and carry that into each day and bring it to everybody when they don't even have it themselves.
Right.
So I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for this episode.
All right. Thank
If
you,
you
brother.
guys want to get a hold of Mr. Raymond, I believe you are doing SVG training now, where you're teaching companies on how to become better roofing companies, better salespeople, recruiting, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, be better individual. It starts with the individual down. The roofing's a small part of it, but we teach you on like the habits of $1 million producers. What scalability, how to be a manager, how to build the teams. I mean, the success starts with the individual down. It's a new concept of trading.
Wonderful. Yeah, man. If you guys need to find him, he's on Facebook, and I'm sure you guys have a website as well, right?
Yep, SVG. I think it says SVG. You got me then. You did catch me slipping on that one. SVG.com or the Win the Storm. But bro, I'm so. If you send me a Facebook message, I promise you, I'm not like you said famous and all this. I'm gonna message you right back.
Yeah, man. That's one thing you're good about is you're working on your community, and I did want to ask you about how to build that out. But till next time, we're going to talk about how to build out your presence and your brand, and how to be able to produce more revenue for yourself on social media. That's how I built my company. That's how you've had success with yours. And so I look forward to that conversation next time.
All right, thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys. And I look forward to having a conversation with you on the next episode.
Yes,
Till
sir.
then, see ya.